Assalamu alaikum everyone. We are back with another episode of Bookish Banter. Today we have this very interesting book. The concept is very nice and the book name is The Other Side of Truth or Other Side of Truth kya hai? Hamza is going to tell us about it. So Hamza, first and foremost, we'd be really glad if you introduce yourself.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Shah Hamza and currently I'm a student in BBA studying in ZABFM. I'm in the 5th semester. And personally, if you ask me about my hobbies, it's actually quite related to writing. So that's why I have an emotional connection to books as well. I write poetry, I write story writing, and book reading. Well, I'll be honest, I'm not that much of a reader who reads 20 books a day or in a month. But I'm the type
Possibly no one can read 20 books.
I'm the type of person who reads one book in 2 years. But when I pick up a book, I finish it in 2-3 days. So the book in topic, the book we're talking about today, it's actually Other Side of Truth by Beverly Naidoo. First time I read this was back in grade 7. It was included in my course English Literature.
Otherwise you wouldn't have picked up this book?
No, yeah. I picked it. Obviously, as I told you, I'm not that much into reading.
Okay.
But like this was the first book ever back in grade 7. That's about around 8 to 9 years ago. So at that time I was obviously not that much into reading. But when I read this book, there was our teacher. She went through the book with us. We attempted the mid exams, final exams, and all of it. So we studied the story in so much depth that I felt an emotional connection. That I picked this book up again last year. So that's why I have an emotional connection towards it. The characters and the storyline. Obviously, it's brilliant.
That's nice because I remember जब मेरा school time चल रहा था, I read Charlie and the Chocolate Factory in grade 5.
Yes.
Then I had Secret Garden in grade 6. I love Secret Garden, but it's difficult to comprehend it at times. Then I had Macbeth, Shakespeare novels, and God knows what. Then I had Hard Times too. So it's nice that you had, different sort of books.
Yes.
Because usually literature में ये books चलती हैं अगर, school में हो. So Hamza, if you were to like the other, I mean the name is just iconic, alright. It's just the other side of truth. So are they like referring to dark side अगर वो other side पे जा रहा है truth के या
फिर actually they're conveying different messages because let me just tell you the background of the story. The author Beverly Naidoo, she was born in Africa, South Africa, but later in 1965 she was forced to move to London for some reason. So basically she was a refugee and she had gone through बहुत मुश्किलात का उनको सामना करना पड़ा जिसकी वजह से all the books that she has ever written it's based on that ideology only. She is basically like targeting the जो मसले refugees के साथ होते हैं. For example, हाँ, तो this book obviously The Other Side of Truth, she is basically unveiling a dark truth, the thing which people do not say out publicly. She has bravely said it, and the name itself says the famous quote. Because you mentioned the name itself, so there's a quote in the book relating to the name itself, which is an indirect message to everyone. The quote,
please share, yes.
The quote goes like this: a lie has 7 different pathways, but the truth only one straight road. So I think it speaks for itself.
And yeah, that one straight road is never easy. काफी उसमें मुश्किलात आनी पड़ती हैं, and obviously अगर उसके refugee के point of view से देखा जाए, तो it makes sense. तो Hamza, the concept is dark, obviously.
Yes.
The truth, dark truth, that's how it has its own volume. But if you were to read it, you said that you were emotionally connected because बहुत thoroughly उसको पढ़ा है, course में पढ़ा है, school में पढ़ा है, फिर से read करा है, अब तो रट चुकी होगी वो किताब, ठीक है. तो अगर जो है apart from the fact कि अगर किसी को randomly recommend करनी हो और उनके course वगैरह में ना हो तो like how would you, for example, I have not read it yet and I want to read it, but just for now let's just be like I don't want to read it, I'm not into reading. How will you convince me to read it?
Are you into emotional, like for example something filled with nostalgia, murder, crime, something mysterious?
Loves it, definitely.
Children separated from their father. So that's basically how the context of the book is.
And what if I go like that, it's too much for me to handle, but I want to read it? How would you encourage me in this? Because, it's like for many viewers, they go through this stage, they want to read it, but also they're not sure if they will be able to handle it.
Well, I'll just say I'm not that much of an expert. मैं बोलते हुए शायद अच्छा भी ना लगूं, but my understanding is that if you're hesitant to read it, you're like, I do not like this, then I think you should take a leap. Go try it. That is something like, for example, if you cross your boundaries now, that is the moment when you're like, yaar ye maine pehle kyun nahi padhi? Because you're just stopping yourself. You're just hesitant to read a book which possibly has so much murder, so much blood, so much mystery, people are crying everywhere. So I'll say take a leap into it. Why not?
You know, it's surprisingly, because currently जो situation चल रही है, it kind of makes you
Yes.
want to read it,
बिल्कुल.
because like to understand the things better, na, because like we see certain things on media, ठीक है, even if they're from different point of views, there's this very limited content that we see, and people support what they see, but there's this, you know, level of understanding and then believing. So I am hoping is it that kind of book, because उसके point of view से it might help people to understand the current situation better, कि कैसे, you know, how refugees का कैसे होता है, उन्हें कैसे move किया जाता है, उनके sentiments क्या होते हैं, you know, that's the thing, because I believe sentiments are the most important thing, because क्या फ़र्क पड़ता है आप इस country में रहो, उस country में रहो, until unless आपका sentiment attach ना हो उससे. तो हमजा, अगर like I get it कि आपने grade 6 में पढ़ी, you are a child of course, ठीक है ना,
of course.
and I'm just like kind of curious कि उन्होंने school ने कैसे करा कि it's kind of ऐसी book that is obviously for mature age, ठीक है ना, and yeah, it's not age is just a number,
yes,
but it's still grade 6 में children are children. तो फिर मैं थोड़ा सा उसको समझने की कोशिश करी कि like obviously level of understanding differ हुआ होगा जब तुमने फिर से पढ़ी होगी, अभी वापस उठा के, तो what were those certain things that you were like, you know, sometimes the things astonish you कि यार मैंने पहले पढ़ी थी तो मुझे चीज समझ नहीं आई थी, तो did it happen with you?
Yes, it actually happened. A really good question, I'd say. Basically, when I read it at this age, I'll consider this a mature age as compared to the age I read it 8 years back.
Yeah, definitely.
So obviously there were some things I was able to relate to. Relate as in a sense में कि I was able to see from their eyes कि what the refugee children are actually going through. I myself was around 15, 16 years old back then. The character was 15, 16 years old back then.
Oh.
The main character, she's a female, she's 15, 16 years old. And how at that age, she along with her brother went to a different country without her family. How did she, you know, like experience all that? So at that age, I don't think I was able to get the sentiment. I was not able to get the message that was being delivered. But at this age, it's obviously a different thing all over. There are some political things over here as well. For example, the law. So उस एज में तो नहीं समझ में आता था ना. Refugee का तो शायद मुझे मतलब भी नहीं पता था. Word meaning में आते थे. Refugee का meaning लिख दो. तो now that I know, it's a completely different experience. Obviously, कोई भी आप book उठा लो. Even if it's your favorite book, you read it from the third time, you read it from different perspective. Fourth time, you get a different perspective overall.
Happened with me too, because हमने तो grade 6 में पढ़ी थी ना. There's this book, A Thousand Splendid Suns. I read it in grade 11, and then I read it like abhi isi saal, like a month back or something. Back then too, I was not that much of a child, but you know, the experience again was different. It made me cry again in a different way, of course. So when it comes to this book, would you suggest the viewers to either have, I asked this question, either have a bag of popcorn while reading it or tissue it is?
I'd say it's tissue papers. It's definitely.
Why are we getting all the books in में tissues ही आ रहे हैं?
It's actually a teary experience. I think, well, I'll say because I personally relate to the books which are emotionally connected. Because when a person cries, मुझे नहीं पता मेरी आइडियोलॉजी शायद इतनी अच्छी भी ना जाए बता रहा हूँ. मेरा खुद का मानना ये है कि if you're feeling nostalgia, रोंगटे खड़े हो रहे हैं, and you're crying, that means you're actually relating to it. If, for example, I'm not obviously degrading or किसी को कम नहीं बोल रहा, but obviously if you're laughing on something or if you're just enjoying an adventure or something, that's the good part of it. The good part can also be delivered through emotions, right? और emotion ऐसी चीज़ है जो याद रहती है.
It's the intensity कि जिस हिसाब से आपको relate कर सक रहे हैं.
I remember the book I cried on, but I might not remember the 100 books I laughed on. वो एक book जिसमें मैं रोया वो मुझे याद रहेगी.
Viewers remember this. It's like you know, एक reading का एक rule आपके पास आ गया है. तो अच्छा पता नहीं क्यों आजकल we are getting the books जिसमें सबको tissues की जरूरत है. Why is no one suggesting popcorns or something? We have this book over there, and you know it only happens in the movies. I think that would be the only book. Might be जिसमें popcorns की जरूरत पड़े because सिर्फ tissues ही आ रहे हैं. At this rate we are going to run out of stock. But it is what it is. अच्छा तो हमजा, for example, द बुक्स दैट मेक मी क्राई, ठीक है ना, तो मुझे याद रहता है कि इस पर्टिकुलर सीन पे मुझे रोना आ गया था, ठीक है ना, मेरे टसवे बह रहे थे, ठीक है ना और फिर एक जाके सीन पे मुझे, हाँ बहुत से सीन्स पे आया, बट एक होता है ना मेजर सीन्स पे रोना, तो मुझे याद है फॉर एग्जांपल 1000 स्प्लेंडेड सन्स में मैं 2 सीन्स पे ऐसे रोई थी कि टसवे भाग तनी हालतें खराब हो गई थी, पता नहीं क्या हो गया जैसे। तो इन दिस बुक ये आपके साथ कितनी मरतबा हुआ है?
It actually happened with me twice. Basically, I'll say the best thing I like about this book, I just got to the context because you asked me the question. The opening scene, the first paragraph, the mother dies.
अच्छा ठीक है,
So
तो
it's
दूर का
basically
spoiler नहीं है,
no.
it's okay.
Yes, the reason I'm saying this, it's not a spoiler because that's how it starts. The first sentence is gunshot, the mother is on the ground. So it's not a spoiler, but you know, right from the first line you get the emotion.
Straightforward है, बस
Straightforward वो आपको hit करता है। तो उसके बाद से तो फिर राइट से जो डेवलप हुआ ना, वो फिर वही रहता है कि यार ये बुक स्टार्ट ऐसे आगे जाके क्या होगा। एंड देन देयर वाज अ पर्टिकुलर,
शुरू में उन्होंने इतना इंटेंस सीन बता दिया, तो आगे तो खुदा ही खैर करे वाला जो हाल होता है।
देयर इज अ फीलिंग दैट हैज बीन एस्टैब्लिश्ड इन सीन 1 के इट्स नॉट अ गुड राइड, इट्स अ टेरी राइड एज यू माइट से। यहाँ पे आपको ऑब्वियसली देयर आर गुड सीन एज वेल, लाइक जहाँ पे खुशी के आंसू मुझे आए थे, टीयर्स ऑफ जॉय, दैट वाज मिडवे थ्रू द बुक। सो
तब तक आप उदासी थे, अच्छा ठीक है, अभी तो ऐसा नहीं है कि उदासी ट्रिगर कर जाए आपको?
नहीं, obviously this the scene actually is going back of my mind, but
if you feel like it, let us know.
No, I'm good, thank
we
you.
have this tissue service here, अक्सर आजकल कॉमन हो गया तो हमने रखा हुआ है happens. अच्छा, तो you know first when you said कि मैं BBA में हूँ, and then you were like mentioned a book, and I'm like BBA में ये कौन है जो ना ऐसे, because as far as I know there are books that genre तो सेल्फ हेल्प का आ जाता है, ठीक है ना, रूटीन वाइज आ जाता है, एंड पीपल डू फॉलो इट। आई मीन पर्सनली इट्स डिफिकल्ट फॉर मी, अल्लाह हिदायत दे, बट पर्सनली तो मेरे लिए डिफिकल्ट है, और पता नहीं, बट लाइक बीबीए की जब कोई ऐसे प्रोग्राम से कहते हैं तो आई एम लाइक आपको कैसे इस रीडिंग की तरफ रुझान आता है, ठीक है ना। तो ऐसी कोई इस बुक का कोई सीक्वल या कोई ऐसे बिल्कुल स्टैंड अलोन है ये, बिकॉज़ इतने साल
there is a sequel after this, there is part 2 which I obviously haven't read. I got to know it when I finished this book. I obviously went through Wikipedia, the awards it won, all the things that it had gone through. That is when I went through a highlighted line. It kind of struck me as a shock. Okay, there is a part 2 as well. The part which is called Web of Lies.
Okay, now even this one sounds interesting. You know, Web of Lies.
Yes, the first is based on truth, the other is truth, and the second they connected towards lies. The Web of Lies.
They want to make readers cry again. So have you thought about reading it?
I have not actually got the chance to read it.
But do you want to read it?
I want to read it, obviously.
How on a scale of, I'm sorry, I'm a psychology student, all right? Scale कहीं ना कहीं से आ जाता है. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how willing are you to read the second part?
I'd say 7 or 8. The reason
Someone gift him a book.
The reason I'm not on 9 or 10 because I'm not that much fan of reading. But obviously this book I'm emotionally connected to. So
कोई कैंपस में हो, स्पेशली अगर व्यूअर्स में से ZABFM के स्टूडेंट्स है, इसको आगे स्पॉयलर्स दे जाओ छुपके से, ठीक है ना। डोंट टेल हिम योर नेम, ताकि गुस्से से जस्ट राइट चिट्ठी वगैरह लिख के इसको स्पॉयलर्स फेंक के।
नहीं, मगर इस किताब की अच्छी बात ये है कि ये most people have not even heard about it, so it's actually a hidden gem. It's not something too cliche.
I don't know how it's a hidden gem because it's like even the name is very intriguing, you know. Like
Yes.
you get to the point. हालांकि कल भी एक बुक थी तो एक होता है ना कि आपको थोड़ा सा अंदाजा और थोड़ा स्पॉइलर ही मिल जाता है in the title itself. तो you know, I'm just thinking कि कैसे अभी तक ये hidden gem. It should be like.
नहीं पता लोगों को.
I mean because the ratings वगैरह they are good. तो फिर तो जिनको पता है so that's nice. But then again it might be because इतने साल गुजर गए हैं. मैं खुद grade 6 में पढ़ी थी तो it you know उस वक्त की पॉपुलर बुक होगी और फिर अभी जाके तो you know इतनी नई बुक्स आती हैं, you just it's so difficult and they're good too, so it's so difficult.
The book was actually released in 2000, 1 year before even I was born. It won the award back then, but
bro, the book is even older than me.
It's a year older than me.
It's older than both of us. So I think कि उस वक्त का जेम तो रहा होगा, अभी तो हिडन जेम इसलिए बन चुका है because तब से तो कितनी सारी बुक्स आ गई हैं और अब तो एक राइटर्स का भी एक ट्रेंडिंग होता है, तो फिर लोग कहते हैं क्यों नहीं कि पढ़नी आइदर स्टैंड अलोन या कुछ। तो इस बुक ने एक तो बिल्कुल हमने कोट बताया जो कि जिसमें आधा टाइटल तो आ गया, उसके अलावा कोई ऐसा कोट है
उसके अलावा एक कोट इसमें यह है कि basically the father is referring to the daughter. The daughter's name is Shade. So basically they're communicating through email or letter writing. So basically the father over there, he replies to his daughter on a certain event ke keep on writing daughter, no one can silence us as long as we hold the pen. So that's, now if you see it from the context of a refugee, people who are not
the
voiced,
only hope that they have, the only hope, it's the last straw. So you know, it's the hope. And yeah, you did tell me कि तुम्हें story writing
I actually
I think pen की वजह से
I actually related to pen. When I'm not able to deliver my emotions verbally, I just brainstorm them in my head और मैं फिर लिखता हूँ. And believe me, the day I'm more emotionally depressed or stressed, उस दिन तो क्या आर्ट निकलता है भाई.
जिस दिन आप सबसे ज्यादा उदास होते हैं ना, कि बिकॉज आप एक इमोशन जो है ना कितनी इंटेंसिटी पे फील कर रहे होते हैं, तो आई थॉट इट्स द केस विद मी. आई एम ग्लैड टू नो देयर इज समवन एल्स. मैं पागल नहीं हूँ, ठीक है. ये दिस इज कॉमन. इट्स अ गुड थिंग टू, बिकॉज एक होता है कि आपका स्ट्रेस जो है ना वो सारा पेपर पे निकल जाता है. एंड समटाइम्स द स्टोरीज मेक यू हैप्पी कि यू नो, ओ माय गॉड मैंने इतना अच्छा लिखा है. तो ये स्माइल देख के इनकी पता चल रहा है कि इन्हें भी जितनी भी आर्ट निकाली है ना, इन्होंने ऐसे ही निकाली.
बिग रिलेट ब्रो.
तो फिर ये ना हो कि आप बात करते करते जो है ना, क्या कहते हैं, थिएट्रिकल परफॉर्मेंस पे चले जाए. ऐसा तो नहीं होगा यहाँ पे?
ऐसा नहीं होगा, ऐसा नहीं होगा. वो मैंने कंटेन किए अपने अंदर इमोशंस.
हमें बस आप इशारा कर दीजिएगा, हम सेटअप सही करवा देंगे उसके हिसाब से. वो तो मसला नहीं है. हमजा, अब ओके, इट्स माइट बी अ डिफिकल्ट क्वेश्चन, बट लाइक आई एम पर्सनली क्यूरियस कि सबका रिफ्यूजीज का हाल चल रहा है, बट लाइक एक पर्टिकुलर आई बिलीव फैमिली होगी. जैसे तुमने 2 कैरेक्टर्स बताए, ठीक है ना.
बिल्कुल.
अब जो सेलेक्टिव कैरेक्टर्स के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू पे बात आ जाती है, जब ऑथर लिखते हैं, तो कोई ऐसा कैरेक्टर हो हु इज योर लाइक, आई मीन इट्स गोना बी डिफिकल्ट बिकॉज़ सब रेफ्यूजी हैं, बट लाइक कोई ऐसा कैरेक्टर हो जो तुम्हें बहुत पसंद हो, बिकॉज़ यू आर लाइक कि मैं इस कैरेक्टर से सबसे ज्यादा रिलेट कर सकता हूँ. तो इस बुक में ऐसा कोई केस है?
There is one character. He's not basically a refugee. He's a person that basically take refuge in London. This person is in London and he has no such relation to the children who are refugees. But even after that, वो उनकी मदद करता है. He raises a voice. He's like, even though his own life is at stake, he's like, मैं इनकी मदद करूँगा. He goes in court. He goes against the government. Why? Because उसको दिख रहा है क्या, refugees बेचारे बच्चे, in how much difficulty they are. So he's a really strong character. The way the dialogues, the quotes which are in the book, and his emotional expression expressed through text, and how those kids who do not even know who the stranger is, these kids who have been taken advantage of since the past 5 years, they are now emotionally attracted to this stranger. Why? Because he just gives them a bit of importance.
Yes, it's like the last hope ना, जब आप देख रहे होते कि हालात खराब हो रहे हैं, and no one is like even betting an eye on you. तो you know, in certain points there are people, because इंसानियत तो होती है, और आजकल जो हालात चल रहे हैं अल्लाह ही बेहतर फरमा सकता है, but it's just like,
इंशाल्लाह,
you know, it's making me feel like wanting to read the book right after this episode. But I'm also like, because I see social media posts every day ना, so it can be kind of triggering. तो अब मुझे नहीं पता कि if viewers should read this now या फिर वो बाद में पढ़े. But whenever you feel like reading a book, reading तो reading होती है, as long as you
are emotionally not
digest it.
If you're not emotionally able to digest it, आप तो I'd say if you're emotionally a bit weak in this context, तो stay away from it for a while. But mandatory read है book, लाजमी.
मैंडेटरी रीड है. अब तो हमने इस बात को जो है ना, क्या कहते हैं, अंडरलाइन कर लिया 2 मरतबा. अब हम जो है ना इसको पढ़ के रहेंगे. अच्छा, तो हमजा, जब आपने ये बुक पढ़ के ख़त्म कर ली, दिस टाइम हाउ लॉन्ग डिड इट टेक यू? वैसे दैट्स नॉट इम्पॉर्टेंट, हर किसी का रीडिंग पेस अलग अलग होता है. कुछ लोग रीडिंग में फास्ट होते हैं, मगर यू नो दे आर लाइक हमसे डाइजेस्ट नहीं हो रहे तो आराम से पढ़ते. तो हाउ लॉन्ग डिड
4 days.
4 days?
4 days.
You digested 400 pages in 4 days?
Yes, 450 pages. Around 460 pages in 4 days.
Oh God, you digested a lot. God bless. तो फिर उसका आफ्टर इफेक्ट, जो इम्पैक्ट था उस बुक का, कितनी देर तक रहा?
It's like I had nothing else to do with my life. बैठे बैठे सिर्फ दीवार को बंदा घूरते रहता है कि यार I do not have that particular book. मैं एक ओवरऑल डिफरेंट मूवी और सिनेरियो मेरे दिमाग में चल रहा था. Now I'm just looking at the door and imagining कि यार अच्छा वो करेक्टर ऐसा है, वो करेक्टर ऐसा है, ये होना चाहिए था. Obviously when you read something, you obviously there are some loopholes in each and every book, right? So you're like यार अगर वो ये बोलता, अगर ऐसा होता, the things might have been different. So it took
because
me
आप
a
अपने
bit
preferences apply कर रहे हो तो it's the same as no human is perfect हो,
बिल्कुल
no author is perfect and no author's book is perfect. It's just वो जितनी आपकी preference से relate कर सके तो हाँ that is so
except of course
understandable.
J.K. Rowling, Harry Potter, no loopholes.
Oh, you love that fantasy series. I love it too. ठीक है, ऐसा लग रहा है I suddenly feel young again. I don't know why. Maybe because हम ट्रेन हमारी पीछे चली गई 1 मिनट के लिए. But yeah, अब ये तो अच्छा, you love J.K. Rowling and that is complete fantasy. मैजिकल फैंटेसी ऑब्वियसली उसमें भी हार्डशिप्स दिखाते हैं, यू नो काफी अपसेटिंग सीन्स होते हैं कि हमारे टेस्ट में बहने शुरू हो जाते हैं, बट लाइक दैट्स फैंटेसी एंड नाउ यू आर द बुक यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट इज वेरी 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 सीरियस.
एक्चुअली सीरियस, यस.
व्हाट मेड यू पिक अप दैट बुक अगेन, कंसीडरिंग कि अगर कोर्स में पढ़ते तो आपको सब तो आपने पढ़ लिया होता, कुछ रहा तो नहीं होता. अब कोई मैंने सीक्रेट गार्डन पढ़ी हुई है, ठीक है, आई कैन स्टिल टीच स्टूडेंट्स हु आर यू नो रीडिंग दैट बुक या फॉर द कोर्स. तो what make you pick it up? ऐसे ही randomly उठा ली कि मैंने ये पढ़ी हुई है, फिर से पढ़ लूं.
अच्छा, I mentioned a while ago, जो मेरा favorite character था, he actually felt sympathy for the character, right? So if I talk about myself, my personal nature, I actually, you know, like मेरा वो थोड़ा emotional connection है इन चीजों से. Like I feel emotionally attached, especially the referees. I'm a huge fan of history. तो
That's nice. Good.
I was just going through some social media posts, नाइजीरिया वगैरह के बारे में, साउथ अफ्रीका का ऐसी कुछ था. I actually do not recall कि क्या what was the context which led me to it, but what I can recall कि मेरी खुद की nature
triggered it a bit,
what triggered it कि it was my own personality based, my own nature to like take an in-depth view from an author's point of view.
Oh my God.
An author who has actually gone through all that stuff in her past and then she converted into through 3 different characters, and so
makes it more close feeling or relatable. What should I say, considering it's a very you know upsetting book, and I think the impact would have been less अगर ऐसे हालात अल्लाह पता जानने वाला है अनाज चल रहे होते तो you know kind of would have helped us a lot. अच्छा, वैसे तो I mean get it कि refugees की story चल रही है, and you know आप expect भी क्या करोगे, छोटे से good moments, but then by the end of it you know कि something tragic would happen again. कोई ऐसा I mean the book itself, the other side of the truth, you know, तो ऐसा कोई plot twist था मेजर किस्म का जिसने वो कहते नहीं दुनिया हिला के रख दी मेरी 2 मिनट के लिए, ऐसा कोई आया था इस book में?
Plot twist लाजमी था. There were actually 2 plot twists which were connected a while ago. Like for example, one was like quarter book आपने पढ़ ली, there was a plot twist, and then it actually connected to a major plot twist towards the end of the book.
Okay.
So
ठीक है, तो आपने यकीनन आखिरी तक किताब
It's a roller coaster ride, up and down. That's what it is.
Up and down. ठीक है. How do you feel right now? I'm just checking up on you as a fellow reader.
I am actually, you know, like gone in that phase totally. Nostalgia is hitting me purely.
Hamza, if you were to like, if you like writing, right? If you were to like feel like writing, because plays भी होते रहते हैं ZABFM में, ठीक है ना? ऐसी कोई कहानी या स्टोरी या डायलॉग्स लिखोगे related to this genre जो कि प्ले हो सके?
बिल्कुल, obviously I have many stories in mind. I am looking forward to remain writing these stories.
तो ऐसा हो सकता है possible कि इस podcast episode के बाद you just go and write in this genre, because I am personally excited to see. Honestly, जिस इंसान ने किताब पढ़ी हो, उस किताब को समझा हो, because other authors they inspire you to write. मेरे साथ भी होता है, अक्सर मैं उर्दू लिखने बैठती हूँ तो फिर my favorite authors are निम्र अहमद और उमर अहमद, ठीक है ना, तो फिर उनका एक जो emotional intense किस्म के उनके scenes होते हैं, ठीक है, तो वो फिर मेरे जहन में रह जाते हैं. तो अब अगर हम ऐसा play expect करें,
no, you will expect it soon. ऐसा play story you can expect it from my now that you've actually said it. तो अब थोड़ा जज्बा और आ रहा है, अंदर से motivation आ रही है कि हाँ,
because अब चलिए ऐसे you know situation रहा है तो the issues जैसे उन्होंने बुक में I believe बहुत अच्छे तरीके से हाईलाइट करा है, ठीक है ना, तो I believe कि generally भी in our everyday life इस चीज़ को हाईलाइट करना चाहिए, because if you cannot do anything about the issue then at least highlight it ताकि the people who can do something about it उनको awareness मिल जाए. तो because all the time you cannot be aware about everything. तो how would you feel if you get the second part as a gift of the book?
I'd feel really glad about it, honestly. I haven't felt the motivation to actually read it, but if I were to receive it as a gift, तो वो रेटिंग जो 7-8 थी वो 11 हो जाएगी.
11. Okay,
11 हो जाएगी.
I was about to say 9.5 something, but cross कर गए. Okay, that's nice.
जो भी दे रहा जल्दी दे भाई.
Okay, 11. अच्छा, refugees का तो एक आता है. You shared about your personality की kindness वगैरह, ठीक है. And I believe कि BBA programs में you guys arrange many things, you know.
Obviously.
तो अभी जैसे हालात चल रहे हैं, are you guys thinking of doing something like, you know, for the people who are suffering या कुछ उनके लिए ऐसा? Maybe because यहाँ पे आते तो हैं अभी charity वगैरह donations के लिए भी आए थे. So are you guys thinking of something like that?
No, I am associated with some organizations, and within the university I am planning something obviously along with some fellow friends of mine. Externally out of ZABFM, I am connected with around 3 to 4 NGOs. So I'm actually, you know, like
you
really
felt very much connected with the character.
Yes,
that sounds
obviously.
very nice. ठीक है. तो I mean, the people who see the refugees, especially children, ठीक है. So I believe whenever you see children, since you have read this book, how do you feel? Like
it's so painful, honestly.
It's like, you know, the urge to protect them.
अंदर से एक चीख उठती है कि यार why? Like the world is not fair, honestly. It's not fair.
There is no explanation. It's just with a why. तो अब ऐसा कोई हो जो कि इतना okay, so the genre of the novel, I get it कि sentimental है, dark है. Are we missing any other genre of this book?
No, I think it's basically about
mystery, maybe.
Political values, political, you know, the political things. It's somehow related to journalism as well.
Oh.
Because the father is a journalist.
Media people.
Freedom of speech, that's the main element of it. So it revolves around these three things: apartheid and all of that stuff.
And all of that stuff.
All of that stuff.
I'm just worried कि हम certain point बात करेंगे and what if something triggers him, because you know it just makes you. I mean, the books that I have read, मुझे अगर पूरा plot भी याद नहीं होता ना तो फिर I get the fact कि अब मैं trigger हो गई. It reminds me of that book. You know, तो फिर वही अजीब ही आपका कुआं बनने बैठ जाता है आंखों में पानी का. तो आई होप ऐसा नहीं हो रहा हो.
नहीं ऐसा नहीं. अच्छा, कंट्रोल कर रहा हूँ मैं भी.
ओह गॉड, हालात खराब हो गए. अच्छा हमजा, अगर how would you feel about gifting this book, I mean the first part that you have read, to other friend of yours? Do you think that they're gonna like it to the same level, because सबके different preferences होते हैं?
They're gonna like it.
Are you surrounded by the people जिनका थोड़ा सा same preference when it comes to reading books?
I obviously, you know, मुझे लगता है कि सबका अपना opinion होता है. You should respect it. Definitely. If you're not on the same page, opposites attract, right? If my friend does not like a particular genre that I like, I obviously would recommend it to him. I'd be like, give it a try. Try करके देखो. But obviously, if I were to, अगर मुझे यार इसको अच्छी लगनी चाहिए, तो फिर तो I'll have to be a bit more pessimistic कि यार हाँ इसी को तो he's the type of guy जिसको पसंद आएगी. Because
Hamza did mention पहले भी कि you know if you want to try a book you should take a leap, try करके देखो if it goes well or not. तो Hamza, considering this same genre, I know you have mentioned कि मैं इतनी किताबें नहीं पढ़ता, ठीक है, मगर इतनी किताबों को छोड़ो. Like if you were to read books, do they follow the same or similar genre, or like are they completely different?
They're completely different, honestly.
Oh my god.
I've read a book on psychology, mystery, murder, circus. So
it's murder, mystery, circus. Time to psychoanalyze you during this episode.
मैं थोड़ा versatility रखता हूँ, थोड़ा अपना like open to all kind of things.
As you know, as a psychology major, the urge to psychoanalyze him right now, whose genre में भी हूँ, murder में भी हूँ, circus में भी हूँ, and you know, mystery में भी हूँ. Okay, that makes it interesting.
Actually, it's true, because as a writer, I feel I'm not, मैं इतना बड़ा writer तो खैर नहीं हूँ, but as a person who just writes as a hobby, I think if you just are stick to one genre, तो फिर आप आगे नहीं बढ़ पाओगे. Have to explore different things. Maybe you can merge two characters and form a third different character overall. So that's the type of thing I'm open.
That's how most of the twisted characters are written. No, I'm not saying you're gonna write twisted characters, but they are like, you know, जब आप चीजें twisted देखते हैं ना, तब खुद का पढ़ने का दिल चाहता है, तो it might happen. So expecting a play from you anytime.
Inshallah.
हम सब ने जो है ना excited रहना है, considering that because you have read such an emotional book, और जैसे हालात हैं, I know it's gonna trigger you too when you are to write it, but you know, just an opinion that you can always write it, and you never know, it might be one of your best works that could actually motivate you to do, you know, to further well. So with this, I actually don't want my guest to
same
it's just that his eyes and nose I could see. Tissues थोड़ा सा दूर है, बस ये मसला है, ठीक है. But with this, I would really urge even myself and all the viewers के ये किताब पढ़ें, कोशिश करें. इट हैज बिकम अ हिडन जेम, ठीक है ना. हिडन जेम ये नहीं कि हम भी बुरे बुरे लोगों ने पढ़ा है, बिकॉज किताब हमसे पहले पब्लिश हुई थी, ठीक है. इट्स अ हिडन जेम टू लाइक ट्राई टू ब्रिंग इट बैक इनटू जो हमारा एक पॉपुलर कल्चर चल रहा होता है ऑफ द बुक्स. एंड इफ एनीवन हैज रेड द सेकंड पार्ट, प्लीज डू लेट अस नो. आप सोशल मीडिया के थ्रू बताएं, हमें कमेंट्स में बताएं, ठीक है. इवन हमजा वुड लव टू नो कि कैसी बुक है, ठीक है. तो ही कुड फील द मोटिवेशन, बिकॉज ऑब्वियसली आप यूनिवर्सिटी में तो हर चीज के लिए इतना टाइम नहीं मिलता है, ठीक है ना. कभी पढ़ ली तो पढ़ ली, अब रात जाके किताब पढ़ ली तो अगले दिन सुबह क्लास हो तो आपका सर ऐसे ऐसे चकरा रहा होता है, आंखों के सामने धुंध आ जाती है, कुछ समझ नहीं आता है, ठीक है. तो ऑब्वियसली वी वुड लव टू नो अगर बुक के रेटिंग्स कैसी हैं. रेटिंग्स तो खैर डिफर करती हैं, बट लाइक व्हाट्स योर पर्सनल ओपिनियन. अगर जो फर्स्ट पार्ट है द अदर साइड ऑफ ट्रूथ, उसके पर्सनल ओपिनियन है तो obviously do let us know. And Hamza, I just am so happy that you are here, and regardless of the fact कि इतनी emotional और triggering book थी, ठीक है ना, you decided to be here and you decided to share about it, so that's wonderful. Thank you so much for being here. And any words?
Thank you for being an amazing host. It was actually really fun. मजा आता है जब सामने वाला भी आपसे रिलेट कर पाए, एंड आई थिंक यू वर अप टू दैट, यू वर मैचिंग माय एनर्जी, तो उसमें फिर और मजा आया. सो थैंक यू फॉर बीइंग एन अमेजिंग होस्ट एज यू आर. सो
थैंक यू सो मच, एंड इंशाल्लाह मुलाकात होती है अगले एपिसोड में. एंड विद दिस, गुड बाय, अल्लाह हाफिज, टेक केयर एवरीवन.